Hi, everyone, and welcome back to High Tea Hoops.
High Tea Hoops.
Nice, Brian. We're back with our Thursday, maybe on a Wednesday today, tea time show with Skylar, the Duchess of Hoops, here with Brian, the Duke of Hoops, as always. Hi, Brian.
Hello.
We're very happy this morning.
I'm very
I was about
happy.
to ask how you
I'm
are,
giddy.
but we know how you are. We're here today with the man, the myth, the legend, the king of WNBA Twitter, in my brain at least, Matt Ellentuck. Matt, how's it going?
Oh, friends, I appreciate it. What's going on?
Thank you so much for being here.
Are we going to tell Ari and Meredith that we called Matt the king of WNBA Twitter? We had them on too, Matt. We did a WNBA playoff preview with Meredith, and then Ari came on pretty early on. Maybe they won't listen to this. Who knows?
Who knows?
No, come on. Those are the goats. Meredith and Ari, please, queens,
they really are.
Absolute queens of WNBA Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not taking away from Meredith and Ari by calling Matt the king of WNBA Twitter. Come on, Brian.
We can all exist, Brian. We can all exist.
Sorry.
We share a throne, okay?
I stack rank everything.
For everyone. He really does. Matt, how about you just start off? I'm sure our listeners know you by now, but how about you just start off by telling us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I've been a basketball weirdo probably since birth, and I don't know, my parents would probably tell you, it's like, I think when I was in fourth grade, I was like, I want to be a basketball journalist. It's like a freaking weirdo. I don't know who says that.
Early? That's crazy.
Yeah, like really, I've known what I've wanted to do for forever. And listen, I caught a couple of lucky breaks. I went to school at Maryland, and I stayed in the area and wound up working for SB Nation after interning there for a bit. And that was my home for my entire pro career. So like a little over 4 years until the pandemic earlier this year. Sucked. Not a fan personally. So unfortunately, a lot of us lost jobs. So since then, I started a Substack to continue covering the WNBA, because this is season number 5 for me, and I knew I was going to stay doing this in some capacity. So I'm happy that I was able to find a platform there. I've done a little bit of freelance for the New York Times also, which is great. So I got to keep doing what I like to do. So, it worked out.
Yeah. And if you haven't yet, go subscribe, go find his newsletter. It's incredible. That's where I get all of my color for the WNBA, everything going on. It's been great to read, Matt.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt's newsletter is called Here's Basketball. Matt, what's it been like producing this newsletter? This has kind of started since the pandemic, right?
Yeah, you know what? I started it, I guess I launched it right after I got furloughed, because we kind of knew what was coming. So we were all looking for the next pivot. And I feel like Substack was like the hot journalist thing at the time, as we were all getting like knocked off our full-time jobs. So like I started it right after, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was sort of just an emotional mess at the time. And I was like, I don't know, subscribe to this. It might work. It might not. I don't know. It was free at the time. So I was like, just put your email down. I'm going to figure this out when I stop, having a mental breakdown. And I put it down for a while, and I sort of planned a bit, and I've been really impressed with how it's grown. And I think Substack is just a wonderful platform that's, not only helped me, it's helped a lot of people in the field, and especially still covering women's sports, since a lot of us are honestly like the first to lose our jobs. It's been great.
Yeah.
It's grown. I feel like I've been able to do the things I still wanted to do from like a production standpoint of putting more information out about this league, getting more people involved in the league, explaining what's going on, what happened in the past, how to get you started. So it's been wonderful.
Nice. I feel like you are like the keeper of the information on WNBA Twitter. Like I remember when, I forget what it was, we were going into playoffs, and there were like all these confusing possible situations, possible outcomes that could be happening based on like all the outcomes of the game. And I feel like literally all of WNBA Twitter was going to your newsletter to like try to work through it. And I would be like updating your Twitter, trying to like get updates like, okay, this team won, so like what does this mean? Do you just feel so powerful?
No, I'm an idiot. So here's the thing, like I like throughout the whole like it was the final few days and it was just so complex this year because there were only 22 games in the season.
Yeah.
And like every team was somehow like still in the playoff picture. And it was a couple of days out and I was like, all right, like the last day of the season's on Sunday. By like Thursday, I'll give everybody like a weekend primer of like, all right, like here's what to watch, here's how your team gets in. And then I start doing them like I have none. I'm contacting all the PR people from like each different team and they're just as confused as I am. And then I'm like asking more rounds of questions and they're like, Matt, just stop. I don't know. It's too many days away. Like, please pack this up. Eventually I think I got it. Hopefully I got everything right. I think I was pretty accurate with it, but it was just a lot. And I really hope we don't have a 22 game season anymore because like the tiebreaker scenarios, it was too much.
Yeah, when we were preparing for the podcast with Meredith Minkow on the playoff preview, Sky and I were like pouring through your email, going like, "All right, wait, there's a reseeding after the first round, after the single elimination, and like, wait, what does that mean?" And we had no idea going into that pod. We're like, whatever, the Storm are gonna win.
Like I kind of the one. The last two games and I was like that's a little mysterious but yeah, obviously listen, the ending came out how we thought it would.
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm gonna try not to be insufferable on this podcast. It's been hard because I've been talking trash to this about the Storm all season.
That's my staple, so don't worry about it.
I have to like rein him in because if every pod that we talk about WNBA, he's just nonstop about the Storm, and I'm like, we have to give other teams a fair shake here, Brian. But then, I mean, at this point,
sorry, it's caused tensions.
We can be a full Storm podcast.
It's caused tensions between the Duke and Duchess in our pre-pod meetings, but it's all right. We've worked through it.
Listen, I get it. This team is the one you want to talk about. Like, come on, they were clearly the best team in the world.
They're exciting.
So, They are.
Yeah,
they are.
They really are. Matt, how do you think that the WNBA has been covered this season, and what was kind of your experience covering the WNBA this season as opposed to previous seasons where it's kind of the normal setup?
Yeah, listen, I think WNBA PR did a good job, like a really good job getting us pretty much everything we needed. What was possible. Listen, I should also preface with I hate the fact that the WNBA didn't let any media aside from Holly Rowe into the bubble. I mean, that sucked. I think that was an issue throughout the entire season because we weren't getting the full scope of what was going on at the very beginning. And I think that was some of the most important parts of this year in terms of like, is everybody safe? How is everybody living? How is everybody being transported? What are the protocols? Which, by the way, we still don't know a lot of the protocols of what would have happened or should have happened if somebody actually tested positive. So the important parts like that at the beginning were a mess. And if the WNBA is going to do another bubble like this in 2021, they need to let more media aside from just Holly in because it's, I had so much information coming in from other people in the bubble or hearing things outside of the bubble. And it's like, what was true? And I didn't know how to compare anything because I'm not there. I'm not seeing it. But in terms of the actual PR staffs of each team, getting us in contact with players and getting us in contact with coaches and letting us know when practices were and sending email blasts of like, here's how you can get in touch with this person and this person. Like that part was great. Getting everybody at game was easy. Even yesterday, we had 2 rounds of interviews with Sue Bird. So tons of people got to, talk to Sue right after the finals, which is key because that's usually the access that you get in the locker room, right? Like you have the post-game media stand with, everybody asking 5 or 7 minutes worth of questions, but then, the real reporting comes usually in the locker room, like being able to pull a player aside and get a one-on-one with them or, even just building the like, I don't want to say a friendship, but like a working relationship with these people, which we missed out on because, we're not in the locker room every day. We don't get to introduce ourselves to new players or rookies and things like that. But I think PR really handled it well for us to get the information we needed at the end of the season. I still have a lot of questions if we're going to do this again, though.
Yeah. It's kind of like the pros and cons of like, okay, you can't be there in person, and so you're not getting all that in-person stuff. But then also because everything is virtual, you can kind of at the same time like attend everything for every team instead of like in past years you'd be stuck in one city, whatever.
Exactly, which is a weird mix because then you get a little bit of everything, but you don't get in depth on one thing. So it was that sort of trade-off this year.
Yeah. I definitely was thinking about the lack of media in the Wubble last week with that whole storm COVID scare. Like we just knew so little about it, and everyone.
That was a disaster.
Yeah, everyone knew so little about it. It's such a scary situation. It was tough to see the way that was handled.
And I think players inside the bubble had the same feelings because, they also didn't know what was going on, and usually it's on us to like pull apart at the league to get what's actually going on, but we're not there. Like we can't really do anything.
Right. Okay, let's get into the series a little bit. Brian, I feel like we've been trying to hold you back for a while, and I feel like we just need to let you out at this point. Do you just want to give us like 1 minute on your takeaways from this series? A very happy
this series, this series individually. I thought that obviously loved seeing Sue Bird get another championship. Sounds like she might come back again next year. Matt, I want some insider info on that if you can a little bit later. But it's really amazing to see Breanna Stewart step up, get the finals MVP again. Matt loved the newsletter on every single Breanna Stewart accomplishment over the last 8 years. I read that out loud in our last podcast because it is just unbelievable. And it's just really good to see this Storm team, which avoided a lot of the injuries of the other teams, avoided a lot of players pulling out this season, and really came together, had so many weapons, had young players combined with the veterans. This was just such a fun WNBA team to watch and showed how good the WNBA can be. And I'm really happy to see them win it. I was also it was kind of like this Lakers Heat series where it's sad to see De'Erica Hamby out, who's a key player for the Aces, obviously, 2-time six Woman of the Year, especially on defensive stopping, maybe putting up some fight against Breanna Stewart. But it was just sad to see a Aces team that could have had Kelsey Plum and Liz Cambridge and all their core role players and star players not be in this series. I would have loved to see more of a Titan versus Titan matchup, but it was amazing to see the Storm step up and just take this, like I thought all season.
Yeah. Matt, what were some of your big takeaways from this series? I feel like we gotta even Brian out a little bit with the Storm.
I mean, listen. In game 2 towards the end, but I think we kind of all knew who was going to win both games, and game 3 wasn't even close ever. Yeah, I mean, listen, Seattle is the team who we thought they were. They also had the advantage of bringing everybody on the roster into the bubble, which is something I think only the Dallas Wings were also able to say they could do. And then even throughout the playoffs, everybody stayed healthy, minus Sammy Whitcomb, who didn't play in the finals because of the birth of her kid. So they had almost everybody also in the finals. That's not to say that I don't think even a healthy Aces team could have handled the Storm team. I think they are truly the best team. I mean, they've got Breanna Stewart is probably, I was saying yesterday, I think she's the most dominant basketball player in the world, period. I think there's such a large separation between her and the second best WNBA player that she's just really hard to stop. And obviously even Sue at 39 is putting up, like all of her performances. Jewel Lloyd has also launched into a total superstar. A little bit shaky last. I will say Las Vegas really surprised me this year. I did not. I did think that losing Kelsey Plum and Cam Beige would probably do them in a little bit earlier. I was super impressed by Asia Wilson all year, true superstar. Has probably proven that she needs to be that player playing the 5 in the paint, which brings up a lot of questions about how this roster looks next year.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
After injury, amazing. I mean, one brutal playoffs, but a really good regular season after being kind of shaky for the entirety of her rookie year. Danielle Robinson really stepped up in the playoffs. Like if I'm an Aces fan, I feel pretty good. Like you've got to feel pretty good about what you saw going into the playoffs and into the finals, and knowing that pieces will be there next year depending on how you want to shape the roster.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what is so crazy about watching these two teams is this Aces team feels pretty young. They're just kind of starting to really get into a groove together, really starting to play well together. The thing about Seattle is they've been so dominant, and I think people just kind of think of Seattle as an older team because of Sue Bird. This Seattle team is really young and could be doing this for a while longer, which is crazy.
No. I hate to break it to people, but nope, this team's going to be doing this for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's we're truly just going to continue hearing about the Storm for years, and it feels like they've already been so dominant.
All right. You know what's crazy too? Like, we obviously are going to have questions once Sue inevitably retires when she's, 78 or so. But they have Ezzy Magbagor.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand. Like I don't know how to put that into words, but they have a 21-year-old going to be a perennial all-star. Like if you saw any glimpses of her this year, there's no one really built like her aside from Breanna Stewart. I mean, 6'4", 7 foot probably plus wingspan, is going to be able to shoot the ball, can protect the rim, can dribble from the perimeter. Like she could not be a better compliment for Breanna Stewart going forward. Like this team is built so deep, and their generational player is 26 years old. Like they're going to be doing this for a long ass time.
Yeah. So Matt, Brian has claimed for years that Breanna Stewart is going to be the greatest women's basketball player of all time.
I said basketball player.
Do you think?
Not just women,
basketball player of all time.
I might take that a notch up. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think Breanna Stewart is going to be able to perform like this for the rest of her career? And is she going to be the greatest basketball player of all time?
The rest of her career, I don't know. I think that's a little tough to say, but she did just recover from one of the worst injuries you can suffer as a basketball player, and still was very clearly the best player in the world. So I would say she's going to do this for a lot longer. Again, like she's 26, probably just entering her basketball prime. So she's already got 2 WNBA championships. I mean, Sue was asked about this yesterday. If I think the most championships one player's won is 5. So will Stewie be able to get 6? She's got 2 in 4 years. So it's possible. I think that she definitely could go down as the best women's basketball of all time. And if she continues at this rate, maybe the best basketball.
Yeah, I think it's about longevity with her. Sue Bird's playing till she's 39. DT has a really long career. So it's almost like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar comparison, where he's playing for, 20 years at a high level. She already, I think, it's like 6 championships in 8 years if you include UConn. So she's off to a hot start, but she's got to keep her body in that type of shape so that she can last another 10 years to get.
And that's what I was going to say too. Yeah. That's what I was going to say too. Even, if her WNBA career doesn't go as ridiculously well as we think it will, she already has 4 out of 4 college basketball championships in the bank, which literally no one else can say that they were the most outstanding player of the tournament in 4 years and won all 4 rings. Like she's got a lot of fucking rings that she can brag about, even get to 6 in the WNBA.
Yeah. It's also been fun.
It is kind of.
Sorry, Scott, I was going to go a quick tangent where it's been fun to see a lot of the WNBA players do media on the side, get their voices elevated, we've talked to Ari about getting to know the personalities of the players is a great way to get into the WNBA. And Breanna Stewart's starting a podcast, Tea with A and Fee, I really wanted, I love the Storm, but it would have been really fun to see the Lynx versus the Aces and have Tea with A and Fee face off in the actual championship series. But it's fun to see them get almost launching their own media companies and media properties. How have you seen that? Is that different this year? I don't remember seeing that in past years where a lot of the players are stepping up to do their own thing professionally and set themselves up for a long career outside of basketball.
Yeah, I think that was obviously a big part of the bubble too, is, everybody and their agents and their best friends kind of got together as like, all right, we're not going to have much media here. And like, this is probably our time to do whatever the hell we want. And yeah, I mean, with Asia Wilson and Nafisa Collier was a genius. I mean, I think we also forget sometimes how well connected the best athletes in the world are. Like, it wasn't really like a hassle for Asia and Fee to get like Damian Lillard or whoever the hell they really want on their pod. Like, all of these players are very well connected. They've been competing against each other, or been at the same camps with each other, or attended the same colleges together, or played in the same Olympics as each other. Like, they're all pretty connected. So if they wanted to build their own media like enterprise, like, it's not really have to like go the JJ Redick route where, you sign a deal with the Ringer and use that media string. Like, they're their own people with their own voices, with their own connections, with their own money, own, sway. So yeah, I think that was really important. And that podcast was really fun. I think something we get in the WNBA that we don't get in every other league is, first of all, players who are willing to share info because they're not covered enough, which is pretty obvious. So they're willing to say what's on their mind because like they want to get things out. And that's how you get really, honest production like that. We get fun sound bites. We get some beef. It's fun. Yeah. I think it was very smart. And I guarantee that we're going to see something like that going forward, especially if there's another bubble season. I bet you a whole lot of other players are probably going to feed off those ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Brian, I know you've been dying to ask Matt this question. Let's shift back a little bit.
Oh, God.
Do you want to ask the Sue Bird ponytail question?
Oh, yes.
What's the ponytail question?
Should Sue Bird's ponytail have its own place in the Hall of Fame? Separate from Sue Bird, the person.
Is this a debate? I thought
It's decided, yes.
Let's get the bobblehead pony going. It's already on the bobblehead. They should have it swing. They should make a bobble with the actual ponytail swinging.
Honestly, listen.
Like a bobble pony?
I think you should probably not publish that and take that
and
idea.
And then take it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. If you do bobblehead plus bobble pony.
Podcast. Listen, I'd buy it. I'd buy anything though. So really, I guess I'm not the best person to market to. No, I mean, listen, anything to get Sue even more recognition. I don't understand how to like define this career. We all obviously listen. LeBron's career is nuts, right? Like, he's in year 17 or whatever it is. He's dominating. He's going to win another championship too. Like, add more years to that. And then you get this person who's still setting records in the WNBA finals with like just no sign of decline. Like, she had those freak bone bruises in her knee, but like besides that, like, legend.
Honestly, I think I'm most impressed in the longevity of Sue's career. I'm most impressed that her ponytail has held up this well for this long because she pulls those boys tight. And I remember being concerned for her hairline a long time ago, and it's perfect still. So that's what I'm most impressed about. And I feel like if you put Sue Bird's ponytail in the Hall of Fame, you also have to put Diana Taurasi's bun in the Hall of Fame. So
agreed.
maybe
we need a hair section. I'm not here to limit.
I was just going to say, maybe we're the people we hate right now that we're talking about a hair section in the Women's Hall of Fame. All right, let's move on so that people don't get mad at us.
Skylar wants to put LeBron's gray beard in the Hall of Fame. So this is just
I wanted to stop dyeing his beard.
Yeah.
I wanted to just commit to the gray.
I kind of also want bald LeBron, but listen, we can have another hair pod.
I want bald Caruso. He needs to give up on this fluff on top of his head.
The good news is he's getting close.
Yeah, he doesn't need any help there.
Let's talk about the kind of setup of this WNBA playoffs a little bit. We've seen a lot of criticisms about the single elimination games as well as the 5-game series. You know, we were just talking about before we started the pod, like how quickly this Wubble situation went by, especially the playoffs. I felt like the playoffs just flew by. I want to hear from both of you. What do you think of these single elimination games, and what do you think of the 5-game series? You know, are they long enough? Are they giving us a good enough picture of who the better team is? Or is the better team always getting through? And should they move towards the longer series? Brian, let's start with you.
Sure. I thought the single elimination games were exciting, and it was kind of fun to have that opportunity. But I think Sue Bird talked about this too, where at least for the second round, I would have loved to see a little bit longer of a series instead of 2 back-to-back single elimination games. And I think that, you know, that it was a short season, but it kind of takes away from what you do during the entire season, not to take away from the Suns' run, the Connecticut Sun, but getting through both of those rounds with a losing record, and it was an incredible run, but it's like, okay, the other teams are kind of looking at that, maybe going, well, you know, we put this work in during the season to just be eliminated in one game. I think that's a tough pill to swallow. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I remember I talked to players right after the W started this new format, I think 3 or 4 years ago. And they obviously weren't happy with the idea of single eliminations because of what you said before, you know, playing a whole year to get knocked out in 40 minutes absolutely sucks. But I think it rules. Like, I understand their frustrations, but we also, listen, we have a league with 12 teams and 2/3 of the league makes the playoffs. So we need to give some incentive to the top seeds for being the top seeds. And I think I'm cool with the first round being a knockout punch. I think maybe the second round should be a little longer. Maybe we give a 3-game series to the second round, only because then we have seasons like the Sparks, who are the 3 seed, and they get knocked out in 40 minutes. And I think that sucks. Like, you're being the 3 seed is still pretty damn good. So we should probably also give them a little more of an incentive than, you know, a 7 or 8 seed, aside from just not having to play in 2 single elimination games and still having to play 1. In terms of the finals, I like a 5-game series. I wouldn't hate a 7-game series, but even like in the NBA finals right now, like I don't want basketball to be over, but like, I know how this is going to end, you know, like I'm going to still watch the game, I guess, but like, I'm going to, you know, I know how this is going to end. We knew how the Storm series was going to end after game 2. You know, I'm okay with 5-game series in the finals.
Yeah, I'm also like, I'm a Pistons fan, but I've kind of adopted the Heat during this bubble, and I thought that this finals was going to be a lot more fun. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'm like, this just it's not that fun right now, guys.
It's not
that I want basketball to be over, but I'm not having fun right now.
Yeah, I can't say that like either.
I kind of thought the same as you. Right. I kind of thought the same as you with the single elimination games. I was like, I don't know that it's the best format. I don't know that we're always getting the better team out of it, but god damn, they're fun to watch. Like, as a viewer, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of important. Like, again,
Brian, do you want to?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was gonna say, I think that's you know, it's part of what's important, right? We're putting on an entertainment product, and like the first round, does anyone want to watch a 7-game series? And you know, most of those first round NBA series, like, they suck. We know how 1-8 and 2-7, and most of the time 3-6, we know how they're going to go. And for the WNBA, I think that's important, right? Like, we're trying to grow a bigger audience here. We're trying to get more people to pay attention. And are they more likely to watch a 3 or 5-game series between 2 teams that is probably going to be a blowout? Or if not, it's just not going to be as interesting because you don't have as many good players? Or do you want to like give everybody that NCAA tournament feel in the opening rounds? And I think that's really important. And then that's how we get Shea Petty buzzer beaters. And like, that's like part of the importance of like, you know, creating moments in any way the WNBA can create a moment to capture an audience, to capture the highlight of the night, to capture a fan's interest. Like, that's super important. So I love it for the first round. It makes it so much more fun.
Yeah. Brian, how did you feel about the Storm celebration last night? I think we got some really iconic moments out of it. Matt, I don't know if you were in that media scrum with Breanna Stewart with the goggles and chugging wine or champagne. I don't know which.
Yeah, I want to kick it to Matt then.
Iconic.
Matt, what was it like being there, basically as there as we can possibly be during a pandemic?
I know. I gotta say, so I live in DC. I covered the W nationally, but I was based here, so I was around the Mystics a ton, and I was here when they won their championship last year to witness the chaos, like in person, right in front of my face, of like aerial powers, like taking out like bottles of, I don't even remember what she had, like out of her bag and like passing around the locker room, the good old days of being able to see humans and share drinks.
Yes.
But like, obviously that was so much fun, and watching them all just like get completely tanked and have to like go on stage and pretend to like form coherent sentences. So we didn't get that exact same feel virtually. Obviously, I think it was also weird for the players who were like, you know, at that point they've, you know, had a little bit to drink and like they're staring at a computer screen pretending to talk to like fake voices. I think they made the most of it. Listen, they had like right after the game, the confetti celebration was obviously nice, considering in the rounds before we didn't even see like hats and like shirts for players, which they were rightfully pissed about. Like, I don't understand how you can't get shirts inside the bubble. It's not that hard. You click order. But listen, it looks like they had fun. I mean, Stewie was talking about how much, you know, alcohol they had back, you know, in the locker room. She came out in goggles that she refused to take off, like chugging a bottle of champagne, which she basically like sat down and first she was like, this is how it's going to be. Like, if you think I'm taking it off, you're wrong. This is my moment. And like, she was a ton of fun. And then obviously Sue came out like, you know, the typical Sue, like super like professional. And then like in the middle of it, as questions are dragging on, because it's so weird, right? As a media person, you're like, all right, like I've got questions to ask, but like clearly this person doesn't give a crap about like what I have to say right now. They just want to change and like they want to do anything but talk to me, and rightfully so. Like, I don't want to talk to me on a normal day, but then like in the middle of Sue's conference, like Stewie just comes in and like starts throwing like confetti at her, and they're like spraying her with whatever champagne bottles. And Stewie's even talking to Haley, the Storm's PR person. She's like, no more questions, Haley, like get her out of here. It was a lot of fun. I think, you know, I'm glad that they were able to have that moment. And this is also like they're about to like welcome back to reality. And I don't know if they're flying out today or tomorrow, but you know, they're going to get their welcome back to like not being able to be in a crowd of people throwing champagne and like, you know, they're living in a fake world currently. So listen, I'm glad they had that moment. It wasn't the same, obviously, because we're not there in person, but for them, I'm sure honestly it was better. They had to deal with us a lot less.
Yeah, I
hadn't even thought about them getting like slingshotted back into reality and how they're so used to being able to like hug each other, and like that's got to be so weird. I hadn't even thought about that.
That's the end of that. I think even Kurt Miller tweeted about it the other day, and he was just like, I haven't looked at a TV in 4 months, and he's just like, they've just been living in this like 24-hour like we only think about basketball environment where like they can do normal things, and like that's unfortunately not how the rest of this world is operating.
Yeah. I thought it was really funny how Breanna Stewart in her acceptance speech for the NBA Finals MVP was very kind of stoic. You know, she was a little bit like, okay, like, I'm going to be professional. I'm going to do this. And then just immediate turnaround, goggles, champagne to the dome, doing a press conference drunk. I was like, yes, I like both sides. You get both sides of it.
That's what I want to see too. I mean, I remember I got yelled at last year because I was somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be. And I was literally like walking around with my camera. I was like, please, Elena, don't chug that beer. Like, chug it. Like, I've got my phone right here. I want to see Elena Deladon chug. She didn't. And then I was kindly escorted outside of the family area.
That's journalism right there. That's what the people want to see.
Which is some true ass journalism. She did not chug, unfortunately. Aerial Powers did enough of that. But yeah, listen, I love it. Like, have fun. Like, this is it. Like, this is your moment. They went through like a really, 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 really shitty few months. Like, I think everybody was tired of the bubble, obviously, and You know, they missed a lot of things on the outside and with friends and family and whatever, you know, health things or weddings or just like life events and stuff. And it was all in pursuit to honestly like entertain us. So like go off, Breanna Stewart, get drunk.
Yeah. Go off, queen. Let's wrap this Wubble, this WNBA season. It's over. Let's do some final thoughts on it. Brian, I'm gonna throw it over to you. What was your favorite moment of this Wubble?
Are we doing like favorite moment, MVP? Like, are we doing the list?
Yeah, we'll do like full thoughts.
Okay.
Favorite moment.
Because I have some MVP. MVPs too. I'll share. My takeaway from the Wubble, which I want your feedback too on, Matt, is I loved that the WNBA and NBA were playing at the same time, and they both had the Wubble bubble experiences. I thought the cross promotion between the games, between the playoffs, was really powerful, and I think it helped bring more people into the WNBA audience. You know, you love to see the NBA players rocking the WNBA sweatshirts that you have on now and the GOAT DT shirt, and I thought that really helped bring visibility into it. So I thought there were a lot of things that the WNBA can learn from the Wubble that will help them, grow the league in future seasons that might not be in a Wubble. So my biggest takeaway was loved that the players started their own media companies, basically, had their own podcast. We got to hear more of their voices, and that they were during the NBA season to bring more into it. And I love that the Storm won. That's my biggest takeaway, is the Seattle Storm champions.
Yeah, that's fair. When I was watching this, the final game last night, I loved that, we're so used to the WNBA being like second billing behind the NBA. I was watching this game, and obviously the Lakers Heat were playing right after, and during the Storm Aces game, they were like, all right, don't forget, there's more basketball tonight. And I was like,
there's another game.
I've never heard that about, guys, make sure you don't turn off the TV. There's more coming. It's like LeBron. Funny that they phrased it that.
I love that. On
don't
ESPN.
Forget, we got LeBron tonight. It was so funny. We never hear it like that. I thought it was amazing. Matt, what do you think? Do you think that the WNBA benefits from playing at the same time as the NBA?
I don't know. I think that it might have been fun for some fans, but then we're missing a lot, because people are still going to prioritize, if they're NBA fans, watching the NBA over the WNBA. I think, it is kind of important that these seasons don't overlap, because this is your basketball. Like, if you're a basketball fan, you're watching the WNBA because it's this or nothing. Otherwise you're not really a basketball fan. But, when you have two seasons going on at once, you miss that. You also miss the media aspect. That's the thing I've talked to a lot of people about. A lot of people who were just starting to get into the W last year were like, man, I wish I was able to watch more this year. Like, I just got into it last year, but with the overlap, like, I'm only, that's not their job. So I think we miss a little bit of that. Personally, I love the finals aligning. Like, I know that there's no way to like do that in the future.
Separately.
I love the final setup. Like, having one like parlay into the other was beautiful. And I know a lot of friends were reaching out because, they were watching the third or fourth quarter of the finals, the WNBA finals, because they were just prepping for the NBA finals, and that brought together new fans too. So there were some pluses from it. I'm a little concerned if this is going to be the format going forward, especially since the NBA is talking about adjusting the season further back. And if they want to start it in January, they would end at the end of the summer during the WNBA season too. So I don't know how it looks. Obviously we don't even know if we're going to do bubble scenarios anymore. If we are doing one, like, it'd be awesome if we could get everybody in the same bubble. I don't know. There's a lot on the table. So I think there were some pluses, but for the long haul, I don't think it's great to have both seasons going on at once.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Like, it's nice to have the cross promotion between the two leagues, but this is like literally the time in all of the viewers' lives where we all have the most amount of time to be watching basketball. Like, if we were all going to our jobs every day, seeing our friends, like doing normal things, not in a pandemic, we would have way less time to be watching basketball. And I, like you said, I was already struggling to watch all the basketball that was on, because it was literally just so much. So it really does this feels like such a unique pandemic thing. But at the same time, it does feel like, there's maybe some lessons that the WNBA could take from this Wubble experience to kind of adopt in the future. Brian, do you think that was there anything that you actually really loved about this bubble season that you would love to see implemented in future seasons?
I think having the teams together, I thought was interesting as a takeaway, especially in the playoffs. Maybe if the playoffs are in a bubble, especially during the pandemic, that would be interesting, because we were just talking about if people like Matt have access to all teams at once throughout the playoffs, I think that can be pretty powerful. I know it's hard because you need revenue from the games in stadium. Key Arena here just got renovated. They're going to have Storm games here if they're able to, with fans and the audience. But I thought it was interesting, the concept of kind of bringing players together all at once and kind of seeing what happens. Because the Wubble moments were some of my favorites, and just having those serendipitous interactions between players and teams and the beach days. And I thought that was really interesting. I would say the biggest takeaway is empower the athletes. It's a personality-driven league. I think we saw that here. The storylines were from the players. I've mentioned the podcast, they've started a few times, but really elevating the different players and the different storylines throughout, and show how the WNBA is really a leading organization, not even in basketball, but just in social issues and justice in general, and how they are messaging to the world. So I think it's empower the voices, I think is the biggest takeaway here, even more. And then empower the journalists and the creators who are trying to cover it and give them that access. Because I thought, they did a pretty good job, but I think that they've excluded some people, and there have been some moments that could have been amplified better and given better access across all different types of creators and journalists. So empower these personalities, empower these players, and then empower the people covering them to do their jobs.
For sure. And then finally, last question on this Wubble, on this entire WNBA season. What if we've talked a lot about the kind of differences between the Wubble off the court, mostly kind of in coverage, in player experience, and viewer experience. Did we really see big differences in the play in the Wubble versus a normal WNBA season? I know Brian and I talked a lot about all of the different injuries happening towards the beginning of the season because there were just so many games. They didn't have a ton of warm-up time. Did we see big differences in Wubble play? Matt, what do you think?
I think everybody was exhausted, like mentally, physically.
They looked tired.
Just really tired. Yeah, I mean, that's also a concern going forward. It's like, how do we recreate this again, but make sure that we're not putting players in a position where they're going to get banged up and they're going to,
right.
Honestly, like maybe even start to like resent some aspects of the bubble because it's too much. Like they were playing 3 or 4 games in a week, which is, crazy on its own. And, I know that they weren't traveling, but a lot of these players like lost a ton of usual conditioning from the start of the season. Like NBA guys, not all of them, but a lot of them have the luxury of having their own private gyms, either at home or just a place to access even during the pandemic where they were able to go in and out of. The WNBA players don't have that same money and influence. So a lot of them were, left stranded. Like we even saw during that horse competition, right? Like Allie Quigley and Courtney Vandersloot, literally a powerhouse basketball couple, didn't have a basketball hoop at home because they're used to like going to different places, and they had to buy one to put on their like kind of cobblestone like garage. Like it wasn't the greatest setup for them, and they're 2 of the best in the world. So a lot of players didn't get the right conditioning. I think every single coach in the league had complained about the lack of time for preparation, because you're trying to incorporate new rookies, new signees, new offseason acquisitions all at once in like a 3-week time period where they were also like isolated at some points, and they had to test every day, and you couldn't get everybody in the court at a certain time. And like, it was disastrous to start off. Like, I know I'm not really blaming the W for this. They were put in like a crazy circumstance. So I totally get why things were the way they were, but they're going to have to figure out how to do that better next year, because I think everybody got banged up. We saw a ton of ankle turns, which sucks, but also probably a consequence of a lack of prep and a lot of play. So yeah, they're gonna have to figure that part out. Obviously, by the finals, listen, Seattle was smart, right? Anytime Sue got banged up, they were like, "Sit your ass on that bench.
Yep.
We'll see you.
Mhm.
We'll see you in October." And even though Stewie in the last 2 games of the regular season was the same thing, it's like we don't need that 1 seed. So Stewie, we're gonna rest you. We need you to drop 37 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So same thing. They're gonna have to figure out that balance, which is also really hard. Like it's not like a thing I'm saying like that could be an easy fix because you have players coming from overseas and they're arriving at different times. They've got to leave at different times. The W has this tight gap, and it's going to be even tighter next year if we have the Olympics. So it's going to be hard. Yeah. I am glad I'm not on that team to figure that out because that sounds like hell.
Same. Brian, any final thoughts?
No.
Not a single. It ended
Matt,
how you wanted.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
That was exactly what I wanted.
Of course.
This has been so fun, Matt. Tell the people where you can find them or where you can find you.
Yeah,
where can you find us, Matt?
Where they can find you.
To be clear, I don't want to find you guys.
He's not trying to find you.
I promise, no restraining orders necessary.
Really fumbled the bag on this conclusion.
We're bad at plugs. It's all right.
What's your Twitter at? Yeah, where can they find your newsletter?
We're tired. We're all tired. My Twitter is M Ellentuck, my last name, which is spelled exactly how you think, ELLENTUCK. And you can find my writing at that same name, mellentuck.substack.com.
Nice. We will see you guys back here on Sunday for our Sunday roast. Hopefully with not an NBA championship yet.
Bye, Matt.
Take care, guys.
Bye.